Today's episode is taken from Lauren's First and Goal Clinic, where defensive coordinator at North Carolina, Jay Bateman, shares his philosophy on third down. The idea is to get off the field. And I know from the offensive side, you hear guys like Noel Mazzoni talk, or even a guy like Phil Longo. It's all about those first and second downs and third downs, where they spend the majority of the time in practice week in order to be able to move the chains and put points on the board. So it is a critical down, as Coach talks about here, and he's going to go into some things that are important to you right now. These are things that as you get into camp, you need to think about working, and it might not come up till week 8, but you have those things in your menu. So a lot of great coaching points that you could pick up from this. I do apologize. The audio at the beginning of this was a little bit shaky. We weren't having a great connection there with Coach on his end, but it does clear up. And again, I think the most important thing is what he talks about here is something that you could take away from right now and make some things, get some things ready, make your plans for the season, and especially as things go into the later season. It's all about installing those things right now, getting your players good at it, so when you need it during the season, they're ready to execute. The entire talk where Coach goes into showing some of the things that they do on film is available on CoachTube. The link is in the show notes. I'll put a code in the show notes as well for you to save 50% on that course. So here we go, Coach Jay Bateman on third downs.
These are kind of our main thoughts when we start talking about third downs. These are the things that we talk about as a staff. So the first one is players, not plays. And I'll give it tip of the hat to Chad Will, our D-line coach. I was at Army in Ball State. Just talked about when we were at Army together. He's at Minnesota now. You know, this is something he voiced. He kind of put the words together. But you know, now with PFF and all these things we have now, like it's so easy to figure out like who they're going to on third downs. And one thing that I think shows up a lot is, you know, when you get ready to go play somebody and you pull up their third down targets, and all of a sudden, you know, they've got, you know, I don't know, you know, they start getting into the end of the season, they got 30, 35, you know, third and mediums or third and longs or whatever. And one kid's got 25 targets. Like, you better cover that dude. All right. And so, you know, that's a big part of what we do is try to figure out who they're going to. You know, a lot of teams now using the quarterback, such a big part of their offense. You know, you better stop the quarterback. Certainly when I was in Army, that was the case. So players, not plays. But I also think it's for you, right? Like, who do you have that's a dude, right? You got a corner that can play man, lock him up and defend everybody else. You got a really elite pass rusher, try to get him in a one-on-one situation. You got a linebacker that's a good blitzer, try to get him in a one-on-one situation. So there's that. The second thing, and I think coaching an Army probably made this even more important, because when you coach there, you know, those kids have a lot. They're taking 20, 22 hours a semester. You know, we had to have a plan for third downs for the entire season that we installed in the spring and the summer. So, you know, we do the same thing here. You know, we're going to put in blitzes. We ran a blitz in the bowl game against Texas A&M. We hadn't ran all year that we installed in the summer. And the thought process was, hey, you know, we're going to need this against a team that's this kind of team. You know, this kind of protection, this kind of, you know, passing concepts. You know, and it might be for this team or this team or this team, right? And then with COVID, you know, our schedule changed 4 days before we started, you know, camp. So that part of it was good. So like we're gonna work on third down calls every day of summer camp, you know, and I think that's important. All right. The third thing, I think I learned this as a young coordinator, you got to call defense to get off the field. You know, I talk to our DBs about this all the time. Don't play a coverage that can't defend a 3-yard route if it's 3rd and 2. You know, don't call a coverage that, you know, if they motion or they shift or something like that is going to get you into a coverage where, you know, they can bang a throw for 5 yards on 3rd and 4. You know, so you got to be aggressive. I tell our defense all the time, you know, a 5-yard gain on 3rd and 3 is just as bad as a 12-yard gain, right? Because you got to get off the field on third down. You know, attack protections, you know, I'm going to talk about that a decent amount later, but, you know, I feel like protections change less than routes do. You know, number 5, the great self-scout, you know, that's one thing that especially here and with all the people that you have at this level helping. you better have a really good plan for, you better look at what you've done and, are you giving things away? Is there a tendency on you? Because offensive coaches are going to figure that out. Number 6 is paint a picture. What I mean by that is, quarterbacks are usually are pretty smart, but most offensive coordinators we play now, they're in the press box, they're calling it, right? So, I'm trying to paint a picture for that guy. Hey, look, this is the coverage structure. This is the blitz pattern. This is the front that we ran this blitz out of, whatever. We're trying to paint a picture so that they think, a certain concept is coming, and then, have a change up to it, or, be able to run it again later because you've put some doubt in their mind of what it was before. 7 multiple packages. I think this has become a huge deal in college football. We have about 5 or 6 packages now where with 3 or 4 blitzes. I know, Coach Brown at Michigan, who's one of the best defensive coaches of all time, he was getting into, over a dozen, personnel packages. So there's a couple things, right? Number one, you can create a lot of multiplicity in your defense, right? Because this group of kids has this coverage or this blitz. And, you practice it and you run it and you practice it and you run it, and you don't run it that week. The next week it's not ready. And then that third week, all of a sudden now you've got something you don't have to spend a lot of time on that they know really well. And for us in college, I think this is a big deal, right? Is you're creating roles for kids. We had a freshman D lineman who's going to be a great player for us. Had some bad luck early, broke his hand first day of practice, had some issues and, health wise. And all of a sudden, we're like, man, he is twitchy. He can really rush the passer, but he doesn't know anything, right? He's missed, with no spring practice and our summer practice being what it was, he's just behind. Well, we put him into a pass rush and said, go, right? You told our older guys, get him lined up and tell him to go, right? And then, he was playing 3 or 4 snaps a game, but they were important snaps now, and really felt like he was, helping us, right? And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is our practice plan for third down, which I think is big for guys. Right? So this is something we have every week. Third down is the only down. We talk to our kids about this. Like, if you think about it on defense, right, you got to get the ball back. And, the way you get the ball back is turnovers, which are awesome, right? But the second best thing, right, is to get to third down and win third downs. So we tell our guys all the time, like, Coach Phil Long, our offense coordinator, does a great job. They don't get to third down much, bro. All right, so, when we're playing teams, we played Texas A&M in the bowl game. They were number 2 in the country in third down conversions. And it's like, you start watching it, you're like, they're 19 of 20 converting 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2. You better get them into 3rd and long when you can handle them, all right? But third down is the only down. And we kind of base our mindset on that, all right? Now, the next thing I'm going to show you, this is from our bowl game a year ago. And so this is kind of how we break it down. This is a slide we show our kids on, on the Wednesday morning practice before we go play, right? And so, this is, 3rd and 1 to 4, kind of like that's probably a person that's like our nickel personnel group, right? And you see the 12 personnel on there, which we're going to some regular defense there, but in 3rd and 5 plus, and you see we got speed, we got peso, and without we got about 5 personnel groups in here, and then those are the calls we're going to run. And so when we show them to our kids on Wednesday, right, at that point, we're not going to change much. We might take something out, all right, but our kids are going to know kind of what the deal is. All right, so players, not plays, and this is kind of what I'm talking about, right? We got to stop their best players, identify them. And the other thing, I'll say this, right, is you better, we played somebody this year. We thought, man, this receiver is a dude, but we're going to have to double this guy, right? And then you start looking at him, third down, he doesn't get the ball much. So, what you think is important, what the offensive coordinator thinks is more important, right? So you're not at practice every day. You don't know how much he trusts the one kid versus the other, but all of a sudden you get into third downs, and you're working off of 30 or 40 third downs, and 25 of them are going to one guy. You better stop that guy. All right. The second thing is attack their worst players with your best players. So, this is more in protection, I guess. But if there's a running back who's not a great protector, or an inside, a guard or a center who you think is going to have trouble with one of your guys, we're going to do everything in our power to get him in a situation to protect, right? Or if we think we can handle most of the receivers, something like that, we and put our best corner on their worst receiver and take him out of the deal, right? That's part of it too. John knows we were in Army. That was something we did a lot. We had a kid named Eli Riley that plays for the Eagles now. Like, you go over there and the rest of us will try to deal with everybody else. So that, and then 3, and this is something that, I really believe in, right? There is an old lineman you can win against. You just got to find him, right? And the more you watch, the more you'll see, they're usually trying to protect a guy, right? If you're in high school, the booster club's president's son is playing somewhere, right? And he's probably playing center. All right. So we're trying to get somebody isolated on that dude if we can. All right. Start your plan early. Create a defensive plan that makes sense. What I mean by that is this, we're going to create a structure where this term means this, right? So that if I got to come in to the secondary room week 6 and say, look, we're running this, and what is it, right? It's an NFL team. What does an NFL team mean? What is it's a city? What does a city mean? It's a color. What does a color mean? It's whatever, right? That they go, oh, that means we're in this coverage, right? And then up front, Coach Cross, our D-line coach, is going in and saying, hey, look, we're running this. It's an NFL team. What does that mean we're doing? Well, that means, one of us is dropping or whatever, all right? So there's that, right? We talk about buckets, right? We're going to be able to drop things in buckets, right? And so this is the 402 deep bucket. This is the 303 deep bucket. This is the man blitz bucket. This is the, simulated pressure bucket, all right? And kind of go from there. And then I really think this is important. We're going to teach concepts in spring or summer. You may not run in week 8. We're going to create, like I tell our, our staff all the time, like they get mad at me in the spring, I think sometimes, but like, I'm going to create a menu, right? Like Cheesecake Factory, right? They got 500 things to pick from, right? It's not like your local deli that's got like 4 sandwiches, right? You want to create as big a menu as you can to pick from, because I think when you go in, and I talked about, against in the bowl game, we ran a blitz that we hadn't run all year, but we'd practice it. We'd had it in a couple times. We'd run it on Sundays on blitz review and stuff. So like when I walked in and say, look, we're running this week, our kids were like, all right, cool. I didn't have to go in and install on it. That's way better, right? And I think the third thing, to take a concept your players know and tweak it to go in and say, hey, look, we're going to make this look like this now. But this is still the same coverage, and I think this is really important with the D line. You add a twist to something. You have a guy you go from a super stick to a long stick or something like that. That's way better than trying to introduce something completely new. Call defense, get off the field. I think as a defense coordinator, you got to give your players the best chance, right? And like nothing makes me madder at myself than if I call something and then they motion or shift and they get us into a defense that didn't give us a chance to get off the field. Right? That's a bad ball, man. I try really hard for that, right? If it isn't the sign to stop before you're going to play, don't call it on 3rd and 2, right? When I played, we had like the no coverage zone, right? You never covered anything under 5 yards. Well, hell, nowadays, like people will kill you if you play that, all right? So you got to be really aggressive. And the last thing, number 4, no layups. I talk to our guys all the time, right? Hey, we want to play defense like the Pistons back in the 80s and 90s, right? Like no layups. Like we want to challenge every shot, right? So that's important to us. I don't want a 3rd and 3 to be an open throw, right? If they did, we were wrong, right? And I think that's a big mindset of ours to get in there, right? Protections. Dave Aranda told me this a few years ago, and it's really stuck with me. Hey, look, these offensive coordinators, man, they sit all day behind their desk and they draw routes. We can, Lonnie Gallo, our receiver coach, is awesome. He's a great football coach. And I walk in his office all the time, and like everything that's a piece of paper has got a route drawn on it. It's walk off this, pivot this, vertical exchange this, right? So like they're going to draw routes all the time, right? But the thing they ain't changing protections, all right? Now they might change, how they slide this or how they slide that, but there's only so many things they can do, right? And usually I go into a game, right? Usually I have a pretty good idea of what protection we're going to get against certain looks, right? So the second thing is, if we can't figure it out, they start giving you, they're full sliding things. They're putting the center to the boundary. They're putting the center to the field. The center's to the back, away from the back, to the tight end, away from the tight end, max protect, all these different things, right? then I'm going to try to force protection, right? We're going to try to get in looks that make them protect a way that we think we'll get, right? Whether it's, showing a bunch of people up, whether it's showing nobody up, those kind of things, right? Where we think we can get the protection where we want, right? And that's kind of, we're going to try to find a way that gets a certain protection, right? Whether it's, we've played teams where you put the 3 technique to the field, they're going to always slide to the field. All right, cool. Or you put the 3 technique to boundary, they're always going to slide to the boundary. Those kind of things, right? And that's it, right? And then I think, when in doubt, we're gonna do everything in our power to get our best guy and their worst guy, right? So if there's something you can do, walking linebackers up, walking a DB up or something like that to try to get them to slide one way, and then that's our mindset, right? We're again, players not plays, right? We're trying to get that, but protections don't change. I think that's a big thing week to week. Okay, great scouts, self-scout. I got Preston Mason, who's an analyst for me, who does a great job with this every week, really attacking me. He's going to come in and say, "Look, you're doing this too much. We're doing that too much. This goes back to last year." And it's what looks we're giving, what coverages, our disguise. We struggled a little bit in the midpoint of the season. He came back in and said, "Just look at our disguise." And he was right. Our disguise was awful. You could pre-snap, you knew exactly what we were doing, and we tried to work on that. But what coverages do we lean on? I think part of that is how multiple your coverages are. We want to be multiple here in coverage, so we're trying to give different looks. What looks are you giving? Are we constantly lining up in one high defense? And is it a stay in one high all the time? Is it a layup for the quarterback to know where to go with the football? Those kind of things. Our disguise, and I'm talking about that here a little bit with some clips. Is working off that. Because I know as a defense coordinator, right? If somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, look, they're always doing this out of this look," man, that's great. All right, but if they come to you and they say, "Hey, look, 65% of the time they're doing this," that doesn't do me much good. All right, so to try to put some doubt in their minds of whether it's a blitz look, whether it's a coverage look, that's important to me, right? And then what I do a lot is I look at hey, how would I attack us, right? You look at us and say, "Hey, look, this DB has gotten beat 8 times out of we've given up 10 third and 5+ conversions week 7. We look at it, and 8 of the 10 are against this one DB." Well, I'm going to try to protect that guy, right? I would go attack that guy, right? Or hey, look, all the pass rushes coming from these 2 guys. I'm going to make sure that we protect against those 2 guys. So I'm going to have a plan. If we get into the game and they're trying to protect a certain way against those 2 guys, right? So those are things I think that you got to do for third downs. All right, paint a picture. Talk about this, right? So the 2 people you got to fool, right? You got to fool the quarterback, right? Even in high school, I think those kids are at the really, really good programs. Certainly in college, a college. I know Sam Howell, our quarterback. He's spending on his own, 10 to 20 hours a week watching film. All right, so I got to try to fool him, but I also got to try to fool the offense coordinator or the quality control coach or whoever's in the press box. Saying, "Hey, they're in this," right? So, we try to paint a picture, right? So we're going to go into each week, and I'm going to tell our guys like, "Hey, look, on third downs, this is the picture we're trying to paint." All right, where the nickel aligns, where the safeties align, what the front structure looks like, all those kind of things, right? And then, what our coverages are from that structure, and then, how we're disguising our coverages from that. And then, what we try to do is, we talk all the time about every call has got a brother, right? So we're going to line up like this, and then the call that goes with it, whether it's a blitz, whether it's a spin the coverage, a drop 8, whatever, right? We're going to have something that goes with it that complements it. And that's where our self-scout comes into play, so you say, "Hey, look, we've lined up in one high defense, 30 times and played, man-free 28 times. We better have something that gets us out of that look early and put some doubt in their mind, all right? Or, we've been playing quarter, half, and how can we make that look like something else?" So that's the paint a picture piece. And so when I go, and I'm gonna talk about our practice plan here in a minute, right? But when I go with our kids and we start talking about defense, I'm telling them, like, look, we want this to look like that. And I think that's a big piece of how we get started. All right. Multiple packages. So, the 5 DBs, right? Pretty much now in college football and third down, you're going to be in 5 DBs, right? 2 corners, 2 safeties, and a nickel. So, we spent a decent amount of our time last year at 6 DBs. But the 5 DBs, we're teaching, I'm in the spring, the summer, I'm teaching them the third down coverages, right? Whatever the concepts are, whatever you think fits what you want to do. And then we're going to build the remaining 6 defenders around those 5 DBs. So, it might be 5 D linemen and 1 linebacker. It might be no D linemen and 6 linebackers, right? At Army, when I was with John, we didn't have a bunch of great pass rushing D linemen, right? We had a bunch, like linebackers are drawn to that place, right? So we had a bunch of linebackers. So we would have we get you in 3rd and 5+, man. We're going to trot 6 linebackers out there that all could drop some and try to, confuse you a little bit, right? But, and again, I talked about, with the freshmen, you get these freshmen coming in, transfer portal, man, you better play those dudes some. All right, so we're trying to get those guys into situations where they can go and they're playing meaningful snaps. And now they don't have to learn everything, right? But they can learn these 2 pressures and or this pass rush concept and then go play, right? And I think the third thing, I know Mike Elko talked earlier. Mike Elko and I talked about this before the bowl game, right? Coverage is hard, man, right? Third down coverages are hard. I don't want to draw up a new coverage much. I want to have those in, right? Blitz patterns are easy, right? To go, for Tommy Thigpen, our linebacker coach, to go in and say, hey, look, we're going to run this from this look this week. That's easy, all right? But to go in and say, hey, look, we're going to play this new cover 1 version. I don't want to really do that, right? And you create depth on your defense, right? So now you got to, like I talked about, we had a freshman D tackle, Clyde Pender. He was, in the bowl game, he played 3 snaps, but they were 3 huge third down plays. He walks off the field saying, I contributed to our defense. And that's going to help me with him a year from now, right? But, Coach Brown says this all the time. Morale works from the bottom up, right? And so when you get, all of a sudden now you got 20, 25 kids that are playing, meaningful snaps in your defense, right? They might be playing quite as much as they want, but they're getting in there, right, because of the way you're using the multiple packages. And and what happens is now when when we were at West Point, we had a kid named Cole Christian who plays for the Chargers now, and when he was a freshman, he played in 1 package. He played about 50 snaps the whole year. That's all he played. But we kept him up with us on Wednesdays, so he would get he had to prepare, he had to know when to go in the game, all that stuff. The next year when he became a starter, right, he was way more prepared. Right. And I think, I think that goes to the multiple packages, right? Is trying to get as many kids to play and play meaningful snaps as you can. And, we do a blitz circuit in summer camp. And, we're all, it's more like it's a little bit of an evaluation tool, right? Hey, who can flip their hips? Hey, who can get off on the ball? Who's got a natural counter, those kind of things. And what happens, you might find a DB, you might find a backup linebacker who's got some of that. And all of a sudden now you put him in you play 11, 12, 13 games and you turn around, that kid's played 80 snaps. That's 80 snaps one of your other guys didn't play, right? And I think that's how the packages kind of work. So this is our practice plan. And I really think this is where we've been able to be pretty good. We're at West Point, I think we were top 5 in third down conversions twice. When I got here, that was the biggest thing I felt like I could change. I knew we had I knew the first couple of years we're going to have to recruit a little bit, but I felt like they've been so bad on third downs. If we just get to the point where we're top half of the country in third downs, we'll be bad. That's kind of what we've been around. I think last year around 30th, this year 40th. So, so we practice in the mornings, right? So this is all based off of a morning practice schedule, right? But you can flip it to an afternoon if you're an afternoon schedule. So we come in Tuesday after practice, right? And at that point, right, we're identifying problems. So we've already kind of gone through the first and second down, the main body of work of your defense, right? So now we're going to third. So third down, right, we come in and the first thing we do is identify problems. Okay, hey, look, this is where they're really good. This is their protection, all that stuff. And then we get to work. And for us, that Tuesday, that's probably our longest night, right? And so, I don't make the other guys stick around, right? It's me and some of the young guys. And, So we talk about it in the afternoon, kind of my initial thoughts, their initial thoughts, and we start putting it all together. And then I email it to our coaches, 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And then when they come in the morning, Wednesday morning, right, it's the PowerPoint, the cut-ups, all that stuff's ready for them. So on our Wednesday meeting before practice is all third down install, right? They've had to get their other stuff done before that, all right? So we come in and we install third downs. Then we go to walkthrough and all the new third down concepts. So, and again, right, we're pulling from a menu. So it might be something we haven't run in a couple of weeks. It might be this coverage with this blitz and now this kid's replacing. But we walk through all that stuff and we do 2 walks, right? So we do a coverage walk and a blitz walk. It's about 6 to 8 reps each, and then they switch. I run the coverage one, the other guys run the blitz one, and we get that done before you go to practice. And then our Wednesday practice, half the practice is third downs, right? So we got a halftime in our practice. When we get to that point, at that point forward, everything's third downs. And everything we do, right? We got the chains out. We got refs at all of our practices. Everything is working on third downs and identifying whatever we think the key things are. We come back in, and then Thursday, and this has been huge to us, is Thursday morning we have about a 30-minute walkthrough. We're going to walk through about 55 to 60 cards, and about 20 to 25, depending on who we're playing, right? Of those will be third down. So we installed it on Wednesday. We ran it on Wednesday. The kids came back, watch it on their own, whatever, on their phone or whatever, Wednesday night. Then we come back in Thursday morning. We watch it a little more. Then we walk through it, right? And then we do the Friday. We do the exact same walkthrough, and then Saturday we do the exact same walkthrough. So by the time we get to Saturday's game, the concepts we run 7 or 8 times, easy. And so I think that has been a big deal to our success, right? When I first was a D coordinator third downs was like, all right, third downs on Thursday, let's take 10 minutes. And like, that's not it anymore, dude. Like now I'm spending half our time in practice on third downs, because if you don't win on third downs, man, it's hard to play defense anymore.
Definitely some great takeaways there from Coach Bateman. Again, the entire talk is available on CoachTube. The link is in the show notes, as well as the code to save 50% on this course. Highly recommend this. Again, anything that you do purchase from Lawrence First and Goal, the proceeds go to fund pediatric brain tumor research and cancer services, a great cause. The Lawrence First and Goal Clinic 2022, our second annual Lawrence First and Goal Clinic, will be virtual again. It's going to be right after signing day, that February 3rd through 5th. Be looking for that one and save the date. Follow all we're doing at coachingcoordinator.com. Follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.